You're with BBC World News. I'm Martine Dennis, and these are the top stories. As Pakistan votes in an historic election, at least 10 people have been killed by a bomb blast in the city of Karachi at the offices of the Awami National Party. The run-up to the vote has been marred by violence, which has left more than 100 people dead. People have been streaming to the polls, which mark the country's first ever transition from one civilian government to another. The unpopular government is being challenged by a two-time former Prime Minister and a former cricket captain turned politician. Guatemala's former military president has been found guilty of genocide and crimes against humanity. Efrain Rios Montt was convicted of ordering the deaths of almost 2,000 indigenous Mayans and sentenced to 80 years in prison. And police in the US have started a criminal investigation into the fertilizer plant explosion.
Gadgets and games, new media, new products. Now on BBC World News, Click gets you up to date.
Click is sponsored by Dassault Systèmes, the 3D experience company.
This week on Click, we go in search of a bit of peace and quiet as we look at the gadgets that can turn it all down a bit. Tech heads in the clouds. We take an augmented peek at London from its tallest building. We'll also ask if Intel's vision of the future is one the rest of us are going to buy into. All that plus the latest tech news and a web for all fans of American TV in Webscape. Welcome to Click. I'm Spencer Kelly. The world can be a noisy place. And if you want to know how noisy, try coming out and filming a programme with us. You think you found a peaceful part of London, which is rare in itself, and then just as you're starting to film, you've got a lorry going past, someone hammering something, and I have no idea what they're doing in that apartment up there, but it's making a heck of a racket. And the fact of the matter is, the more machinery and devices we turn on, the noisier the place gets. So how to turn down the volume without compromising our tech? Well, Laura Lewington's been in search of the quiet life.
Neither your average location nor your average gathering. The silent disco is the ultimate in personalised entertainment, not to mention a party the neighbours won't be complaining about. The music you listen to is pumped out through these radio frequency headphones, allowing you to select one of two DJs by channel option.
This may not be anything new, but it is one way of choosing the sound that you want to listen to, something that could be useful in life outside of a disco.
With more background sound to our lives than ever before, noise pollution is taking its toll.
There's recent evidence from studies of aircraft and road traffic noise that it can contribute to high blood pressure, even contribute a small amount to an increased risk of heart attacks. In children also, noise has been implicated, aircraft noise has been implicated in children's learning, particularly in hindering their reading.
And indeed, World Health Organization research suggests that 3% of deaths caused by coronary heart disease are due to chronic noise exposure. But it's not just jumbo jets. Inside our homes, we have to put up with blaring blenders, whirring washing machines, and kettles so noisy that they can make us feel steaming mad. And that's what's prompted this concept house at London's Ideal Home Show. Aimed at creating an altogether quieter living experience, many of the appliances carry the Quiet Mark stamp. This status is awarded to manufacturers for the quietest product of its type, to help consumers know they are opting for a less noisy device.
It's not about being able to hear a pin drop, but just making things as quiet as we can. For instance, a food mixer is never going to be completely silent.
But we could create a calmer environment by making less noise. Though some of the tech in here can function without a whimper, a bladeless fan, a fanless computer, there's also a hairdryer over which you can almost hold a conversation. Each appliance averages a reduction in level of between 5 and 25 decibels, which, as sound experts will tell you, means less than half the noise.
Decibels are logarithmic, so every third decibel, it almost like a Richter scale, it doubles. So it doesn't sound much, 68 to 74 decibels, but there's a huge difference in terms of how actually you receive the sound and how it impacts you. You've got a whole orchestra of machines that surround you every day, and there's such a layering of sound. If we start to choose to soundscape and tune and tone down those sounds, it stops the stress levels that can affect our bodies, our health, our productivity and relationships, and makes a huge impact. And when you hear a quiet machine, it's suddenly you go, oh, and yet it's high performance, so it's still doing the job.
Take a washing machine, for example. One of the causes of noise is the movement of the actual washing load. But this machine's technology uses sensors to keep the drum better balanced, so there will be less vibration and thus less noise. Or this kettle simply has a double layer of insulation, which should save energy as well as keep the volume down. And if you live next door to someone who likes playing the drums at all hours, well, you may hope they know about the latest silent instruments. Although it's been over 30 years since the first hybrid silent piano was marketed, the tech inside them is keeping up with the times.
Now, as well as being able to use this as an acoustic piano, it also has a silent function, which means at the touch of a button, it can transfer into its digital mode. Now, the way that this works is, instead of the hammers hitting the keys, a sensor picks up the notes and translates them into digital sound. And then you can listen to them through your headphones, so at least no one else needs to hear.
Phew. So piano practice aside, if our household devices can be made this quiet, why aren't they already?
It all comes down to cost and how much a company wants to invest in making it quieter and how important it is to be quieter. A games console is probably the loudest thing that most people in their living room would have. It's got a lot of power in it. It needs to run hard and fast to make the games better. It's not as noisy as a DVD player, which probably the only noise is when you press the button to open the tray to put your DVD in.
Whether it's the sound of your tech or your colleagues you'd like to block out, a pair of noise-cancelling headphones can actively eradicate any distracting nonsense by listening out for and counteracting offending frequencies. Or you could just opt for a snug-fitting pair of earbuds to physically block out noise. There's even a smartphone app to the same effect. Sound Curtain masks the surrounding acoustics by playing a chosen sound through your headphones, automatically adjusting the volume relative to the level of noise in the room by using the phone's microphone. You do need decent earbuds for the best experience, though. And whilst our tech is a major source of the noise around us, at least it can give you the chance to lose yourself in your own world.
Lara Lewington, keeping the peace. Whatever they're doing up there, they're still doing it. Now, one way to escape the noise of the London streets is to get up above them. And that's what we're going to do next, after this week's Tech News.
As the conflict in Syria escalates, the government has denied claims it blocked access to the internet for 19 hours. Traffic ground to a halt on Monday night in a blackout the government says was due to a fault in optical fibre carrying data. Critics reject that, saying it was an attempt to derail the online activities of the opposition and mask atrocities being carried out in the country. Monitoring companies reported a similar scenario in November as rebels used services like Skype and YouTube to reveal what was going on. Microsoft has announced that a key update to Windows 8 will be made available to developers next month. Windows 8.1, codenamed Blue, is a key update to the operating system, expanding its hardware support to include smaller form factor devices and improving a user experience that many have derided as unintuitive. Interestingly, it will only be made available through the Windows Store and not through the traditional Windows Update route. Finally, YouTube has launched a trial scheme for paid channels. Initially, content makers will offer subscriptions starting at 99 cents a month. Each of the 53 channels will offer a free 14-day trial and annual discounts. Providers range from established outfits like National Geographic Kids through to marginally more specialist content like Fix My Hog Premium, aimed squarely at the Harley-Davidson biker lot.
So here we are at the bottom of Western Europe's tallest building. It's the Shard, 300-odd metres of glass here in central London. And one thing you absolutely must do these days when you build a tall building is stick an observation gallery right at the top. Come on. The latest addition to London's skyline, the Shard is a giant structure covered by 8 football pitches worth of glass, which towers over its surroundings and provides an excellent vantage point for its visitors. On the way up, you pass through some of the city's most famous roofs and ceilings, including St Paul's Cathedral and the Royal Albert Hall. It's a pretty speedy ascent. Each of the 2 lift journeys lasts less than 30 seconds. So here we are at the observation gallery. It's the highest accessible point of the building, but we're still not at the top. Up there's 30 more floors of machinery and general building paraphernalia. But I have to say, the view is pretty spectacular, isn't it? It seems we've chosen London's one good day of the year to come up here. And if any Londoners are watching, just to clarify, that thing you can see in the distance there is called the Horizon. And this being a very modern building, it has all the latest modern touristy mod cons, including these. I need to introduce you now to the augmented reality telescopes. More of a digital camera with a zoom lens than an actual telescope, but point one at any landmark and it will overlay information in real time. Now, this is actually very similar to the augmented reality apps that have become popular on smartphones, where the software works out what object you're looking at and adds information accordingly. A great experience in clear conditions, but at other times of the year, this is what you're more likely to see. And that's when these telescopes really come into their own. You can switch between different modes, not only to see a clearer view, but also to get a feeling of what the city looks like at different times of the day. For each of these, what you actually get is an enormous photograph. It's about 1.3 gigapixels. They've stitched together lots of smaller photographs to form each of these views, and then you can pan around those in the same way that you can the live image. Visitors spend, on average, an hour at the gallery perusing all of this information and exploring the weatherproof images, something you might expect, having just paid the £25 entrance fee. And that's what Tower Bridge looks like from the ground, just in case you didn't know. And there's plenty more still to come on Click this week. The future, according to the world's biggest chip maker, where the outlook is damp but bright. And a chance to yell at your Windows phone as a new personal assistant comes online in Webscape.
Click is sponsored by Dassault Systèmes, the 3D experience company.
If we could supply fresh water, this would be the perfect location for the new town.
Using their 3D experience platform, Dassault Systèmes helped prove Georges Mogin's dream of transporting icebergs could become reality. It takes a special kind of compass to explore the world's future possibilities. Dassault Systèmes. If we ask the right questions, we could change the world.
Here's something sports fans can cheer about. The new BBC Sport app is now available on Android and iPhone. Keep up with your favourite sports wherever you are, whenever you want. Check live scores as they happen around the world. Share your top stories. Source results, fixtures and all the latest breaking news. It's easy to stay up to date with world sports news using the BBC Sport mobile app. Download it now for free.
Click is sponsored by Dassault Systèmes, the 3D experience company.
The technology landscape is changing really fast these days, and that means that the tech companies that have been successful in the past aren't necessarily going to be the ones which shape the future. It's important for these companies to be ready for the new world, and indeed to show us that they're ready. Well, a couple of weeks ago, chip giant Intel invited us to its Innovations Day to take a sneak peek at what it thinks will be tomorrow's most significant computing innovations. Intel, the name that's been the driving force behind hundreds of innovations over the past 40 years. The chipmaker has dominated the desktop, but so far it's failed to take charge of the new, more mobile age that we're living in now. No surprise then that this is where its focus now falls. So, when it started travelling the world with an expo of its own, boldly entitled Future Showcase, we decided to ask the editors of two of the biggest titles in technology what they thought. Luke Peters has spent 3 years at the top of award-winning tech title T3 magazine.
I'm looking for something that makes people go, wow, I want that in my life. What I'm interested in is tech that can make life better.
Will Findlater is the man in charge of the UK's top-selling tech mag, Stuff, and he's not easily impressed.
Everyone thinks they have an idea of what the future looks like. What you need is the tech to make it happen.
First up, controlling what happens on the screen with your fingers using 3D gesture control. The idea was first popularised by the Xbox's Kinect system for gaming, but Intel's system is more accurate, using pulses of infrared light to measure out a 3D space directly in front of it. It can recognise your face, follow each of your 10 fingers, and even copy your expressions. Intel calls it perceptual computing. Here, the monkey is able to mimic the user. But is this mimicry just gimmickry, or something we may actually find useful?
Security-wise, this would be a great way of logging into a computer. If you're in a family, it can recognise different faces and load up profiles. But where I really see this technology having some impact is with smartphones and tablets.
This is very much something of the future. 3D interfaces could change certain areas of our lives in quite profound ways. Certainly in gaming, where you have fingertip control of really detailed environments far beyond what you can do in Kinect. Your avatar could accurately represent your emotions to someone on the other side of the world.
Next up, mirror, mirror on the wall, will this technology rule them all? Intel's been working on its own magic mirror. Now here, you either have your body scanned by a 3D camera for the best results, or you manually add your vital statistics so the system can create your avatar. Then you choose some clothes to try on, and using your tablet or PC's camera, your avatar moves just as you do, giving an idea of what you'd look like in them. Amazon and several other retailers are trialling the system. So, after years of being promised this type of tech, is it about to go mainstream?
I think the big problem here is the fluctuation of people's weight. And if a store has got your credentials of a certain size and the clothes arrive and possibly you've lost or put on a bit of weight, they're not going to fit and your experience isn't going to be great. So I think that the technology has a lot to think about before it actually starts implementing that in people's houses.
There are so many hurdles to this technology taking off. For one, you need a 3D scanner in your home or in the shop, every shop that it's in, and okay, that's an emerging technology, but it's not everywhere and it's costly. Also, it's not going to work on kids. They grow. You need a different measurement every time, and the measurement has to be very accurate to make it work.
Predicting the next trend can be as difficult as predicting where raindrops might fall. But that's also something Intel's working on, to help car headlamps light up the road and not the rain. Scanners pick out the drops and then predict where they'll be milliseconds later. That's enough time to switch the mirrors that bounce multiple tiny beams of light on and off, so that the light misses the droplets and travels further to illuminate the road ahead. It's lab work at the moment, but the results, shown here on the right, do seem effective.
It sounds like it needs an incredible amount of processing power to actually make this work, and I'd be really interested to see how the automotive companies built it into their cars and how much it would cost. What I want to know, though, is how does it adapt with things that it can't legislate for, such as splash from other cars on a motorway.
This is only a prototype. What I want to know is exactly how it works. There are already systems using home cinema projectors called DLP that seem to use a similar technology. If that's what they're using here, it's an incredibly clever use of the technology that already exists.
These are just a few of the more interesting technologies that Intel showed off. It's clear it wants to move into the more mobile tech that we use today, as well as continue to dominate desktops. But the success of the technologies it's touting as tomorrow's tech are perhaps more important for Intel's own future than they might be for ours. American television. Love it or hate it, you can't deny it has churned out some really successful series over the years. The Simpsons, The West Wing, Battlestar Galactica, Grey's Anatomy, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Watched by masses, but made by just a few. Well, if you've ever fancied going backstage with some of them, Kate Russell has a feast for you now in Webscape.
TV fans, settle back into the sofa. I have a feeling you're going to like this. From American Dad to Will and Grace, the most successful series of all time are exploded in glorious, intricately woven data visualization at Universaries, a reference site dedicated to all the creators and producers of these blockbuster TV shows. The site was built mainly because the developers wanted to play with HTML5, which is the latest language of the web. And it's a brilliant example of what's possible when you think imaginatively about how to explore information and data. Geeky attraction aside, though, TV buffs are going to get lost inside this archive for hours. Follow the wireframe web of connections that link these movers and shakers, who command budgets of $50 million a season and more. The site currently features the work of 150 key industry figures and aims to grow as it follows the TV industry's expansion. If you're visiting the UK this summer and don't want to spend your days sitting in traffic jams, why not just ditch the wheels and walk it? This is a helpful resource for traversing Britain's cities on foot instead of by car or train. Walkit.com. Get directions from A to B, or if you just want to go for a walk for the sheer fun of it, then the site has a rather nice circular route feature that allows you to plan a stomping ground that leaves you back where you started. It's great for planning a 20-minute stroll or a more ambitious 4-hour hike to take in the sights of the city. It'll even tell you how many calories or CO2 you're burning, or not, and suggest walks around a theme in the area you're staying, making it the perfect holiday companion. There are around 50 cities covered now, with paid-for apps on Apple and Android for simple navigation. Call BBC Click.
Calling BBC Click.
Voice-controlled smartphone assistants are becoming more and more popular, and one that is gaining ground in the market right now is Maluba, available free for Android and Windows Phone 7.5 and 8. The makers of this app call it a do engine, as in you tell it what you want it to do and it gets it done. And they're not afraid of comparing themselves to Siri either, and there's a rather amusing commercial on their website to prove it.
Taxi. Cab.
I found 9 stores close to you to purchase a maxi pad.
This app is simple, with effective voice recognition, making everyday tasks really easy. What's the weather going to be like tonight? It certainly fills the role of smartphone assistant on these non-Apple platforms admirably. Which probably won't matter to those of you with an iPhone, as it's not available for your handset anyway. How much is your mood influenced by your environment? That's the question researchers at Cambridge University hope to answer with Emotion Sense, an Android app that collects data about where you are, how noisy it is, and who you're talking to help you track and explore what makes you happiest.
Thank you, Kate. And if you missed any of those links, you'll find them all at our website, bbc.co.uk/click, which, let's be honest, is the only link you really need. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can via email, Google+, Twitter and Facebook. And all those details are up at our website too. But that is it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Sponsored by Dassault Systèmes, the 3D experience company.
Tropical sunsets.
It's an amazing place to visit.
Exotic wildlife.
Such a cute scene.
And pristine beaches are only half the story.
We're threatening the entire marine ecosystem.
It's the 21st century and you're going after pirates.
16 countries with a story to tell.
Such a special place.
Simon Reed gets beneath the surface of the Indian Ocean. This weekend on BBC World News.
This season on your TV, radio, online, magazine, and mobile. Sportsnet. Everything Blue Jays.
This is where we play. This is where we win. Every fan, every run, every leaping grab, every stat, every inning, every home run, every strikeout, every cheer, every tweet, every save, every stolen base, everything Blue Jays.
Looking at you, kid.
There's always someone watching.
Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 to order.
And 528 wins the 5 TV service. 528.
Hey, that's you. Shh. I've got an Xbox 2.0 with On Demand. I get twice as many TV shows and movies than 5. You take it.
Oh, no. I've got an Xbox as well. No, thank you.
528.
Right here. Very mature.
A trial?
Upgrade to an Xbox 2.0 for a TV experience that's superior to 5. And get 2 times more TV shows and movies on demand.
Than ever. So is this a pattern that's set to continue? Find out more on our travel and tourism special on Middle East Business Report here on BBC World News.
After 240 years, the Encyclopaedia Britannica has stopped printing. It's now just online. So, does this mark the end of an era in which the digital world eclipses the physical one? That's Horizons on BBC World News.
A rich historic heritage and a toxic political past. Andrew Graham Dixon unearthed the art that has shaped modern Germany.
You can really sense that spirit of idealism.
Discovering work that is unafraid.
This is an aggressively modern object.
Uncovering monuments from past regimes.
A chilling work of art.
And imagining a future where anything is possible.
This art changed the way Germany is today.
Art of Germany, this weekend on BBC World News.
African passion for football is something else. Sometimes you can't help but get caught up in it.
Hey, you know what? I do work for the BBC, but it's time for me to show my true colors. If I can hand this over.
It's an overwhelming moment of beauty, spirit, and pride. And that's when you realize that these people aren't cheering for their team. They're cheering for Africa.
is for Africa. Sabina, hey, one, hey, Sabina, this is for Africa. Sabina.